Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a Alolan Persian and a Alolan Meowth. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, Alolan Meowth is actually really good here. Like, over the top good here. As in, probably better than Persian. Arguably could have had its own video. That level of good. I'm like legitimately in love with Alolan Meowth here. I think it's a really good tech in a whole bunch of decks, and I think it's gonna win games. But maybe instead of just going on about it, I should show you what it does. Well, no surprise here that it has been revealed on the official Pokemon website in Japan and has been translated by the lovely David Hockman. Now, it is a darkness type Pokemon. It's got 60 HP, which is of course very low, and has a significant upside and a significant downside. Significant upside, Professor Elm's lecture will be able to search for it. Yay! Significant downside, Buzzwole. Buzzwole with a fighting energy will do 60 damage. If you had 70 damage, you would be able to get away from this, but you don't. You have 60 HP, which is very bad. Hey ho. Can't help it, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that you can be searched with Professor Elm's lecture, I think is better in the long run. Retreat cost of 1 is quite nice, but really it's the attack here. 0 energy, 10 damage. You might be thinking, hang on a second, Wassy. That doesn't sound good. And I'd be saying, hang on, let me tell you what it does. If you went second during your first turn, this attack does 70 damage. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. 70 damage for 0 energy, just as long as you go second. And we just talked when we looked at Wait and See Hammer, which I still love the name of that card, that we're getting more and more of these cards at the moment, whereby you can only use them on your first turn going second. I mean, Wait and See Hammer literally just has Sneasel's attack in an item card, which is awesome. But not as awesome as this, because you see, your opponent may well be playing an evolution deck. Zorua, bearing in mind, they've gone first. They have not had a chance to evolve. They will have the basics out. Zorua, he gone. Trubbish, he gone. Grubbin, he gone. There's a whole bunch of Pokemon out there that you can KO for 0 energy with Meowth, which means basically one of two things. Either they have to expend resources making sure that Pokemon is not in the active. Maybe they waste an energy retreating. Or maybe they drop an escape board earlier than they wanted to. Maybe they even play a Guzma to get their only Zorua out of the active so that it doesn't get KO'd. That would be fun. Or they let you potentially have a free prize. That's phenomenal. And we could go a little bit over the top here. If you had a choice band on, and then you remember you're against, say, a Dawnwing's Necrozma, that's a one-hit KO for no energy. Because with weakness, you'd be hitting 100 with Choice Band, and then weakness pops it up to 200, and you get a one-hit KO on a Dawnwing's Necrozma for 0 energy on your first turn of the game. If you have a good enough start, and I don't know that you will, you could even play a Guzma here to take out that lone Zorua or that lone Dawnwing's Necrozma. Although as a side note, Routes does have resistance, so you won't be able to get a KO on a Routes here. You will only be doing 50. The resistance will save it. And it's hard for me to overstate how good and useful this card could be. This is a one-card tech. Very much like I talked about with Girafarig the other day, which lets you put 2 cards from your opponent's discard into the Lost Zone, and I legitimately believe could be a really good tech that players are going to use to win the game. That could be Meowth. Because here's the thing, right? If your opponent has a lone 70 HP or lower Pokemon and passes the turn, Meowth wins you the game. And this is where 0 energy really comes in handy. Because remember Alolan Vulpix. Alolan Vulpix isn't just good because it lets you search for any 2 Pokemon, although that is a good attack. It's good because it's 0 energy. So what you do is you start with a Pokemon, and hopefully they've only got a retreat cost of 1, and then you search out your Meowth. Maybe you do it with Professor Elm's lecture. Maybe you do it with a Nest Ball. Maybe you do it with an Ultra Ball. And then you use your energy attachment for the turn to retreat your active. And then you win the game. And that's ridiculous. If your opponent's only got 1 basic, you win the game. But it's not that simple. Maybe your opponent only has 1 Zorua. So even though you don't win the game, you stop them having a Zoroark next turn. Or maybe they have 2 Zorua, and you take out 1 of them. And then next turn they evolve into a Zoroark, and they use 1 trade. And they don't find a double colorless energy, so they can't attack. And maybe if they had a second Zoroark, and therefore a second trade, they would be able to find it. Turn 1 KOs are beautiful. Maybe you get the donk. Or maybe you stop a Pokemon coming out next turn. And maybe none of this happens. Maybe they've got loads of Pokemon. Maybe they've got loads of the one you KO. Maybe you're not stopping their setup. You're still taking a prize. And the thing is, right, you're putting 1 Meowth into your deck just for this, and then your opponent loses a good Pokemon that they want to evolve next turn, or maybe even 2 prizes if it's a Dawnwings Necrozma, and you lose that 60 HP single card tech that you played just for this. Even if you trade a Alolan Meowth 1 for 1, you're trading a card that you played just for this purpose for a card your opponent actually didn't want to get KO'd. I'm going to be giving it 4 Wossies, and honestly, I could go higher on this. This isn't a card around which you're going to be building a deck. No. It's a 1-card tech. But how many people played 1 copy of Alolan Vulpix and it really helped them? That's where Alolan Meowth comes in here. I think in a lot of ways this is just as good as Alolan Vulpix. It's a great card. Now as for Alolan Persian, it's not quite as good, but it does bear having a little look at. Anyway, it is again Darkness Pokemon, weak to Buzzwole, all of that. I should mention resistance to Psychic, which is quite nice for stuff like Garbodor. But then again, you got 90 HP. It's not exactly huge. Retreat cost of 1 is quite nice, but having said that, you're not actually using any energy to attack, which in a way makes the retreat cost a bit worse, but you do still have a skateboard if you are so inclined. And then you're still hitting weakness on stuff like Duskmane Necrozma. And there's only 1 attack, but again, it's for 0 energy, which is very nice. 90 damage. And you might be thinking, 0 energy, 90 damage, that's amazing, there must be a catch. And yes, let me get to it. It does 30 less damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you're against something like a Zoroark, which will have a double colorless energy attached to it, it's not going to go too well. You're going to be doing 30 damage. So it's not great. It's really not that great. Honestly here, it's fine, but there is one good use for it, and the good use for it is Dawnwings Necrozma, who just so happens to have 180 HP, and will rarely have energy attached. Now don't get me wrong, there'll be some Malamar decks that do attach energy to it, but they're going to be few and far between. There aren't going to be that many of them, and that's what I really like about this. It's a nice little tech. I don't think you would play Alolan Persian if it wasn't for Alolan Meowth. I think the Meowth is a great tech. 1 card in your deck, if you're going second, it's a brilliant turn 1 option. Especially in decks like Zoroark Golisopod, which rarely have a turn 1 attack they want to use. So you might as well just play 1 of these. Gives you a turn 1 attack. But Alolan Persian here, maybe if you're playing Alolan Meowth, you chuck it in. It gets a KO on a Duskmane Necrozma. I'm giving it between 2 and 3 Wossies. It's fine. But it really is just an I'm going to Guzma and KO Dawnwings Necrozma. It's only really viable because of Meowth. But what a Meowth, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I'm getting overly excited about this, but I reckon there's going to be a whole bunch of games where people just end up getting beaten by Meowth. Either they don't have any other basics and they lose instantly, or you stop them getting a particular stage 1-up because you KO'd their only basic, or you just jump out to a prize lead and never look back. It's a really good card. But you might disagree with me, in which case either you can hate me silently from afar, or you can have a good-natured discussion with me in the comment section. Although it doesn't have to be negative, all comments are welcome. Go nuts. But do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Do be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.